The news cycle froze at 6 a.m. Every major network shifted in unison, displaying the same stark headline. Brenda Fricker, the woman who brought the heart of the Pigeon Lady to the screen, had passed away at age 81. The reports moved past the statistics and straight to the image. A woman on a park bench, surrounded by wings, offering a lifeline to a lost child in the heart of New York City. For millions, that image was not just a scene from a film. It was a memory of salvation. People looked up from their morning coffee and saw not just an actress, but the silent, steady anchor that kept Kevin McAllister from falling into the abyss of the city. The news triggered an immediate, quiet ache in the collective consciousness. It was a sudden, sharp reminder of a figure who had stood for something deeper than fame. From London to Dublin, the mention of her name sparked the same unspoken dialogue about the woman who taught a generation that even when you are abandoned in a concrete labyrinth, you are never truly alone. The world paused to mourn a guardian of the screen. Decades before the pigeons gathered, she was already a force in the shadows of the Irish stage. She spent years in the wings of the Abbey Theatre, honing a craft that demanded everything and promised nothing. She waited for a break that arrived with the grit and ache of My Left Foot. When she walked onto the stage to accept the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, the room expected the rehearsed grace of a star. She offered something else entirely. She stood before the lights, trembling, her breath hitching as she looked out at the sea of faces. She did not deliver a polished speech. She simply stated she was overwhelmed. In that moment, the artifice of the industry vanished. She was not playing a part. She was a woman caught in a raw, human reality. That lack of polish became her signature. She rejected the smooth edges of fame, choosing instead to carry the weight of her characters with a terrifying, beautiful honesty. She proved that the most powerful performances did not come from a script, but from the unfiltered pulse of a human being standing completely exposed. When she arrived in New York for the production, the transformation began in silence. She did not retreat to a trailer between takes. She claimed a specific bench in the park and stayed there for hours. She wanted the birds to land, not because they were trained, but because they trusted her. The production team offered stunt doubles for the bird seating scenes, but she refused every single time. She sat still as the temperature dropped, letting the wind bite at her skin, waiting for the wild creatures to recognize her as a static, safe part of their environment. She was not looking for a performance. She was looking for the weight of being forgotten. Every interaction was a study in patience. She held her breath to keep from startling the flock, mirroring the internal stillness of a character who had spent a lifetime existing on the margins. She wanted the audience to see the truth of abandonment in her posture. By the time the cameras rolled, the birds did not see a performer. They saw a fixture of the park. She had successfully shed the layers of her own life to inhabit the solitude of the woman on the bench, making the isolation feel heavy and absolute. The global storm of the film eventually faded, and she turned her back on the noise. She returned to a small, stone-walled cottage in Ireland, trading the frantic pace of Hollywood for the rhythm of the seasons. Fame held no currency here. When journalists arrived, hoping for stories of her career, she steered them toward the garden. She talked of soil, of planting, and of the dogs that followed her through the tall grass. The accolades that defined a career were never displayed on a mantle. She kept them in a plain wooden box, shoved deep into the back of a closet. She piled heavy volumes on gardening and ancient history directly on top of the lid, effectively burying the evidence of her former life. She found more truth in the dirt of her flower beds than in the spotlight. Every morning, she walked the perimeter of her land, ignoring the phone and the mail. She was not a recluse by nature, but a woman finally comfortable in her own silence. She moved through her days with a deliberate slowness, finding the quiet she had sought for decades. The world wanted the icon, but she chose to be the woman who kept her own company, finding peace in the simple, unrecorded hours of a life lived entirely for herself. When the news of her passing broke at 6 in the morning, the world shifted its gaze back to Central Park. The benches where she had spent those long, silent hours became an impromptu altar. People arrived in the early light, carrying small brown paper bags of seed and single, white flowers. They did not gather to mourn a celebrity. They gathered to acknowledge a shared moment of human connection. The seed was scattered across the wood, a rhythmic reminder of the patience she had once embodied. No statues were erected. No grand monuments were carved in her image. Instead, the park remained exactly as it always had been, filled with the soft rustle of wings and the quiet tread of city life. The legacy she left behind was not found in the golden statues buried in her closet, but in the simple, enduring realization that no one is truly alone. She had taught a generation that grace does not require a spotlight or a stage. It only requires the willingness to sit still, to listen, and to offer kindness to the world. The curtain has finally fallen on her half-century of work, leaving behind nothing but the quiet, steady echo of a life lived with profound, unadorned dignity.